caught cheating, blocked by his wife, and left alone.
Always had an issue with infidelity. She caught me one last time kind of thing and decided that was it, and decided to walk away.
But despite facing what seemed like insurmountable odds, Derek not only restored his wife's trust, she's now investing in their marriage again.
It's better than it was before. Our trust is rebuilt. We're spending time together. We're going on dates together. It is 100 times better than it was even before.
In this video, I'll share the trust framework that made this transformation possible. You'll discover how to rebuild trust in a way that makes her feel safe and open to reconnecting with you, even after infidelity. The key to igniting her admiration and attraction, making her look at you like she did when you first met. And a powerful strategy to show her your transformation is genuine and permanent, proving the new you is here to stay. And the third principle carries a lot of extra weight because a lot of men ask me how they can get their wife to let go of the past, and Derek reveals exactly how he did. So let's jump in.
They'll say that my wife just won't let go of the past, right? She keeps on bringing it up.
That helps a lot with things.
Derek's story proves it's never too late to transform yourself, and that anyone, no matter how far they fall, can rise again. But often it takes a devastating wake-up call to reignite real change. When his wife caught him for the last time and walked away, she didn't just leave, she cut him off completely.
So at that point, she had packed up, moved out, no communication or very, very little communication, blocked my calls. I think she still had me on social media briefly, and pretty much said it wasn't going to work out.
Determined to rewrite his story, Derek reached out to us. But before he could fully commit, there was something he needed to ensure it had to be real. No gimmicks, no manipulation, no shortcuts.
One of the things that really turned me on was when I first got involved with the program and first did my initial interviews. I told him, look, I'm not interested in mental manipulation or those kind of things. And that, I don't remember who she was, but the lady immediately said, that's not what we're about. We're not about fixing your relationship. We're about fixing you. And that made a big difference because, of course, like a lot of things, it was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for that change. I'm here for that change.
When he started focusing on himself, Derek discovered the crucial first step to stopping separation and restoring his wife's trust. This is where many men get stuck, held back by the biggest attraction killer of them all. You won't get anywhere with her until you face and address this head on. Listen to Derek describe it.
One of the biggest things that I took away from the program was covert contracts. I was a covert contract guy for a long time. And
if you haven't heard of the term covert contract on this channel, it's when you do something nice for your wife, but with an unspoken expectation that you'll get something in return. For example, cooking her dinner and secretly hoping that you'll lead to sex later that night, and then you'll get angry or resentful when it doesn't happen. Or you agree to something you don't really want to do, expecting her gratitude or affection, and feeling frustrated when she doesn't respond the way you wanted. Now, these behaviors come off as manipulation to her. She feels it intuitively, even if it's unintentional on your part. And it kills attraction because it puts pressure on her to meet your hidden expectations. And that's feminine by nature, by not being direct and honest. Now, Derek's breakthrough came when he learned to break free from this mindset and embrace the concept of targeted detachment. It's about addressing and overcoming unhealthy attachment patterns that are pushing your wife away. You have these patterns early on in childhood, and until you learn how to discover them, to find out why you had them in the original environment, how they actually push her further away even though they protect you, you're going to go through the same pattern. Hopefully still with her till you fix it, not another woman. Imagine two magnets. When you push one too forcibly toward the other, it repels. But when you set it down calmly and give it space, the natural pull draws them together. To see what this looks like in action, listen to Derek explain the moment that led to a huge win with his wife.
One of the wins, of course, was I got her to start talking to me. I got her to go on a couple of dates with me. And my biggest fear, because of course I broke everything off with the affair partner immediately. That was a 2-year ongoing deal. One of the biggest freakouts during all that time was not everything was out in the open, not full exposure yet. And the worst case scenario happened. Things were going good. We had a couple of little setbacks. We've never really fought and argued. But at some point she come to the house while I was gone and finished removing her stuff. Oh man, I went into spiral. I was like, oh man, this is it. This is just solidifying that it's over. And of course luckily I was able to jump on one of the group calls right after that happened. And, between the coaches and the men were like, hey, stop talking about that and talk about the wins you had this week, and I was like, but okay, well, I guess you're right. And you kind of look at the glass half full. And so I didn't react to it with her. Of course, at that time I was trying to call the message. Can we talk? Can we Can I
Yep.
talk to you? And then finally, once I went through the 30-minute ordeal with the guys and the group, and I got her on the phone, and I didn't even mention it. I just played it off like nothing happened.
Let's break this down because the moment is huge. Derek's wife came to the house to grab the rest of her things. At this stage, it was still early in the process, and Derek was panicking, feeling like the walls were closing in on him. Now, most men in this position would cling, react, and try desperately to get her to stay or to change her mind. But Derek did the opposite as hard as it was. First, he sought immediate advice from his coach and support system, which gave him the strength and clarity and confidence to approach the situation differently than he would on his own. When he finally spoke with his wife, he didn't even mention the incident. He stayed calm, grounded, and non-reactive. Talk about throwing her a curveball. Instead of seeing the panicked, desperate man she expected, Derek showed her someone composed, confident, and, most importantly, in control. A version of himself that caught her completely off guard. And that is the power of targeted detachment and the ripple effect of a strong support system. Which, by the way, if you need that support, click the link down below, set up a call with our team. It's a free call, but just make sure you're fully committed like Derek is. By the way, what happened next was the icing on the cake and completely unexpected. Derek's transformation didn't just impact his marriage, it reshaped another part of his life, an area that allowed him to lead and inspire others in a way he never would have expected. Stick around until the end of the video to hear that full story. Now, while targeted detachment restores balance and polarity, it begins to rebuild trust on a micro level as well, showing her you're not trying to manipulate or control her. But this next principle builds on trust on the macro level, okay? Addressing the deeper wounds and fear that keeps her guarded and hesitant not to fully open up to you. When Derek first began making changes, he hit a wall, as most men do. But despite his efforts and making great progress, something just wasn't clicking. And it was because he was still holding back, keeping some cards close to his chest.
At that time, I was still real restraint in what I was willing to disclose with her. I played it off. Oh, we've talked on the phone, but we've never met. And of course, she knew that there was more there.
Here's the thing. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can sense when something is off, even when it's not being said. It's a feeling, okay? I'll explain this more in detail shortly, but first, recognize Derek had to face the very fear he had been avoiding.
She was coming over one day, and she got there, and I'm all excited, and she came over, and she was not happy. And she said, we need to talk. And I'm oblivious, I still think everything is, that girl had reached out to her and disclosed everything, every detail, every event, everything. And I just decided I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm done lying. And when she asked, I told her, yep. I said, that's the old me. That old me is dead. I'm done with that. The next day, it was like things turned around. I think she was able to remove a lot of weight and say, okay, finally, it's all at least all out in the open now, because she knew there was something still in the background being hidden. So it really, really made a turning point, because I figured that was going to be the nail in the coffin, and it wasn't.
Derek had to summon radical courage. The courage to be fully transparent about his actions, no matter how difficult.
I agreed, hey, look, we'll get on Live 360 and you can track my location, which I used to be firmly against, I did away with removals of passwords on phones, and I said, you know what, I got nothing to hide.
Without your complete honesty in the face of fear of vulnerability, your progress remains surface level and trust cannot be fully taken root. In the movie Flight, Denzel Washington's character faces a critical moment of truth during a legal inquiry about a plane crash.
Could you speak louder, Captain
Trina
Whitaker?
Marquez did not drink the vodka because I drank the vodka.
After months of hiding his alcoholism and trying to manage the narrative, Whip finally admits that he was drunk while flying the plane, even though it could destroy his whole entire career and personal life. This act of radical honesty is a turning point of his character, showing the weight of owning up to the truth and courage it takes to stop hiding who you really are. How did Derek overcome this fear? Well, in his case, he had no choice.
I know a lot of guys in your situation, like with being transparent with all this stuff, there's the fear of like, if I told her everything, she would leave me. How'd you overcome that fear?
I didn't have a choice when she found out.
So you were forced to.
Yes. It was sink or swim kind of thing, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it, because some of the other books that you had recommended, they were like, oh, disclose everything. I was like, there's no way. I'm not going to do it. I felt like I was not only protecting me, but every little win that we were building up. I was like, if I say anything or expose myself to more, it'll crash everything.
Here's a critical truth about your wife, and I alluded to earlier. How to listen.
But the ironic thing is like, I can't prove this. We never can. But like, you may agree with this. She didn't know the details, but she knew there was something that wasn't being said, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's just, the women are intuitive. They feel it, you know?
Yep. Absolutely.
Women's intuition is no myth. It's a powerful force. They pick on subtle shifts in your energy, your tone, your nonverbals, your actions. And when something feels off, they know it, even if words can't describe it. Derek understood this, and by harnessing radical courage, he became fully transparent with his wife. He laid everything on the table. But even after that act of bravery, the past still lingered. That's when Derek took courage to the next level, achieving what few men ever do. Not only did his wife forgive him for his betrayal, but she completely let go of it. This brings us to the third principle of the trust framework, which unlocks a level of connection and trust you may not even realize is even possible. Even though a woman may never truly forget, the fact that Derek's wife never brings it up means the weight of the past is no longer defining their relationship. This is huge, monumental. So how did Derek get here? He was proactive in a way that most men never consider, because their ego gets in the way. Listen to our conversation as Derek explains this pivotal moment in depth.
A lot of guys, when they go through what you've gone through, right? When there's betrayal, and the betrayal goes both ways a lot of times, but they'll say that my wife just won't let go of the past, right? She keeps on bringing it up. What did you change in yourself to allow her to let the healing process happen, to get her to let go?
I'd say one of the big things, because again, I've been fortunate. She doesn't beat me up with it, but I pick up. I'm not oblivious. I'll see when something bothers her. For example, this farm that I'm talking about, that's where the affairs were happening. 4 or 5 hours from the house was at this we call it the pecan farm. And so for me going back at the beginning of winter to this place, I could tell was a lot of hostility, and she didn't say anything, but I could tell. So I learned to pick up on those things, listening with empathy, trying to feel things from her. Instead of trying to justify myself, I'd sit down and I said, how do you feel about me going? She said, maybe you could take some guys with you to go up there, go hunting and stuff. I said, absolutely. So finding and notifying those little things that were bothering her, and not just going, tough shit, just deal with it, but actually playing a part and saying, how can I do something different? Same thing with the phone, right? How can I be more forthcoming with you to make you feel more comfortable?
Derek's moment came when he stopped justifying himself and started listening with unified empathy. He paid attention to the subtle signs of discomfort his wife displayed, like her unease about him visiting the farm where the affair had occurred. Instead of dismissing her feelings, he sat her down and asked her how she felt, and proactively adjusted his actions to ease her concerns, like bringing friends along the trip to create transparency. Here's what I really want you to understand. This approach wasn't about doing the bare minimum. It was about taking the initiative to rebuild trust in the little things that mattered most to her. This also demonstrates masculine leadership and accountability, two things that completely soften her guard and invite her to follow. With unified empathy, you truly hold the key to unlocking a connection so strong it feels like starting a brand new marriage. But what if ego gets in the way? Well, Derek explains a common barrier that he overcame to get there.
There was a mental block probably in the past about like, well, I'm not going to lay down my manhood and bow down to my woman and be whipped like a lot of guys. No, there's a sense where there's times where I can, and I do it all the time, is I'll put my foot down and say, no, we're not doing this. This isn't happening, or we're not gonna go this way. But also be willing to say, no, let's compromise. How would you be more confident? She's a quiet person, and she's also one of those individuals who would not say anything until it builds up. So I pull it out of her and say, no, we're going to communicate. We're going to talk about this. What can I do to make you feel better about this? And a lot of times she'll tell me, just the fact that you acknowledge that you knew I was being bothered by it, that helps a lot with things.
Derek addressed her unease directly, taking proactive steps to make her feel safe. This wasn't about compromising his leadership or bowing down, but creating a dynamic where her emotions were valued and considered in making decisions, which softened her guard and fostered deeper trust between the two of them. In case you're thinking that empathy is weak or less masculine as some men do, research shows that empathy is like rocket fuel for a healthy marriage. It's that powerful. One particular study found that when couples genuinely empathize with each other, their overall happiness skyrocketed. It's like flipping a switch from tension to connection. Yet the same study also found that dysfunctional anger can tank marital satisfaction faster than you can say another argument. That's how those delicate conversations often end up reacting defensively and succumbing to your ego. But if you can successfully balance leadership and empathy, you'll be well on your way to creating the kind of success Derek achieved in his marriage. So how do you make the balance work in real life situations? How did Derek figure this out? Let's dive into our conversation about this critical question.
When you're in a situation, what do you consider or think about or even feel that allows you to choose to put your foot down or not?
So I think that's always a hard factor for anyone, and that's deciding, right? Because we want people to see it from our side. So I'm learned through the program to try to see it from not just her, but this has helped me in my career and relationships with people in general, is to go, wait a minute. You hear the old timers say, son, don't fight over the small stuff. Well, I've learned that, and go, wait a minute, is this even worth it? So for example, our home, in the past, I didn't want change, no, don't change the comforter on the bed, and here a while back, she was like, well, I was thinking about getting a new comforter. I said, well, get one. You don't care? I said, I don't give a shit, Amber. I said, as long as I got a bed to sleep in, I don't care. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, I come home after Thanksgiving and it is this god awful, ugly green. And she said, I walked in and I looked and I went, oh, she said, you don't like it. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. No, I'm not a fan of it. I said, but I don't care, man. I said, it's your bed. If that's what you want it to be, then so be it. I don't care. She just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I don't care. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I like something or don't like something. I said, but at the same time, I'm not going to fight for something that's not worth fighting for, things like that. I said, if you want to change furniture, change furniture. If you want to rearrange things, rearrange things. I used to say, no, I don't like change. Don't move the couch, don't move the chair, leave it the way it is. And I've learned to back off. But there's other things that I can't think of a particular example right offhand where I'll be like, no, we're not doing that. Or we're going here and we're doing this.
Ever heard of the saying, pick your battles? Well, Derek's example shows how leadership involves knowing when to set boundaries based on your core values. This isn't about control or ego. It's about aligning decisions with what truly matters. Listen as I explain this further.
What it comes down to a lot of times is we talk about the core values, right? What are your, whenever the situation is it kind of bending one of your core values or pressing against that? And if it's going against your core values, that's when you express to put your foot down. But when it's like, is it a core value that she changes something in the house furniture? Absolutely not, right? But a lot of guys, they take that and they're like, oh, she's trying to exert power or control over me, and they make it like an ego game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Knowing when to hold firm and when to let go is the cornerstone of unified empathy. It creates harmony, builds trust, and earns your respect. But here's the thing. Setting boundaries isn't just about drawing a line in the sand. It's about doing it in a way that makes her feel safe and respected, and it keeps her from shutting down or springing into defense. So how do you do that? The next step of the trust framework answers this question. When you master it, not only will you earn her respect, but also rekindle a sense of security and attraction that, honestly, she's been longing to feel again. Now, this next clip might seem ironic given Derek's past, but here is listen as he describes a pivotal moment in his transformation.
There was also some touch and go where she admitted that she was not while we were together, but during the separation, she was talking to some guys. That was something else the program really taught me was I can't expect something from her unless I communicate it with her. So now I'll go to her, and I even did that a few months ago and was like, look, I see these guys liking your stuff, and I feel disrespected by it. It bothers me. I said, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just letting you know how I feel about this. And she never came back and said, I took care of it, or here's what I did. But I could see she took care of it. So she hears me. And
it's remarkable how Derek evolved from being a serial cheater to a man who could openly and authentically express his discomfort in a respectful way. That's powerful change. The key is that Derek communicated his feelings without coming across as controlling or reactive. Instead, what he did is that he calmly set a situational boundary, expressing how her actions made him feel, while giving her the autonomy to decide how to address it, okay? There's no force there, but he still gave the honest expression. So when you express your feelings with authenticity and emotional maturity, rather than issuing ultimatums or demands, what you're doing is that you are inviting respect, fostering trust, and creating a space for healthier communication. And look how it paid off with his wife.
We just came back we have some property in North Louisiana where we harvest pecans every year. It's a family thing. No one lives up there. But anyways, I go up there, go hunting, and got up one morning and she took off of work, which is a big deal. She works at a postal service, so she works 6-7 days a week. And she took vacation for the first time and came up there that entire week and spent the time up there and helped work. And I got up for one morning and went and made a hunt and came in right back after daylight and had got the opportunity to harvest a deer, came in, kissed her. She gave me a blowjob, which was out of the norm for her. And I said, hey, I'm going to go make breakfast. And I sat on the porch drinking coffee and I said, shit worked, man. Like a couple of months ago, I was thinking about swallowing a pistol and look at me now. I mean, I'm better than I was before. And, we went to an orchestra the other day together. And I said, look, this is outside of our norm, but let's do something different, something interesting. So I've learned to communicate with her. If I need something, I got to tell her I need something. Right. And that was another big thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
After you detach, tap into your courage, learn to empathize, and lead with masculine authenticity while setting boundaries, you're ready for the final step, the trust framework. Now, this is what ensures your changes are real and lasting, ultimately gaining your wife's trust in a way that can't be shaken. Derek captures it perfectly in this clip.
But I said, I know I can't stop. One of the things I told her is, rebuilding a trust is I'm not going to be able to say something or do something. It's going to be consistency over a long period of time.
Derek is talking about trustful consistency. You prove through repetition of your authentic actions over time that your changes are genuine and dependable. Trust the process, stay the course, and resist the urge to rush the outcome. True trust is built day by day. In The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, one of my favorite books on success, he highlights the power of small, consistent actions and how they lead to profound, lasting change. This applies to success in relationships, personal growth, and any area of life. Your everyday actions compound into a foundation of reliability and connection. The Hardy's equation captures it best. Small choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. For Derek, this mindset was crucial for his strategy in rebuilding trust, but also maintaining his confidence and determination in challenges he faced.
So many other men who would go through what you've gone through with her moving out, saying we're done, blocking you is huge. Like, the guys would lose hope. How are you able to keep confidence despite all that?
And I'm not 100% sure. A lot of it was the program. And of course I dove into the program 100%. I got myself involved in church and I said, I'm not just going to go, I'm going for me. I jump on the group calls, the Facebook stuff, everything. I was constantly surrounding myself. And then one of the things that you drove home was the fact, don't give up and convince yourself, which will convince her, this is going to work. And even on bad days, I was convinced. And another big driving factor for me was my young daughter, because she saw all this play out. And I said, you know what? She's seen the destruction. She's got to see the healing too. She's got to see me fight, because if not, I'm not only destroying my relationship, I'm destroying every relationship my daughter will ever have.
Now, I mentioned something completely unexpected that happened to Derek. He became so changed by the work that he radiated positive change in his workplace. Check it out.
I was a covert contract guy for a long time, and then I went around teaching people afterwards, right? I was, it's a bad example, but I always tell people, I said, you don't realize how many people smoke weed until you smoke weed. And so I mentioned, I said, you don't know how many people are having relationship issues until you're having relationship issues.
Right.
So not only did I change, but the culture here, like for example, here at the job site changed, because we went from sitting around a lot of guys that were talking about women and chasing women and this chick that I'm talking to and this chick that I hooked up with and this and that, to talking about relationships, talking about religion, talking about families. We changed our mindset. We changed everything else.
By detaching, leading with courage, empathizing deeply, setting healthy boundaries, and staying consistent, you'll become the man that she is not only drawn to again, but even further, with more attraction, more trust, deeper love, okay? The leader your family needs. For another video on completely how to set your boundaries and maintain them with respect without losing respect, check out the video right here. Set up a call down below if you need help from our team. Love you. See you in the next one. Cheers. Smash the like button.